going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So today's video is going to be talking about the S2000 and if it's even worth having, was it worth getting, does it live up to the hype, and so on. So the reason I'm doing this video is because today I'm going to go visit one of my very good friends. He's leaving for Florida, to move to Florida. He was dealt a rough hand, let's just say the last few years, I mean life in general, but things are finally starting to look up for him, and now he's got a chance to go start a new life essentially out in Florida, and I'm very happy for him, so I want to go see him. He leaves Wednesday, today is Monday, so tomorrow he's going to be running around making sure all of his stuff's taken care of. So today I wanted to go do that. I'm not going to film that because I'm just going to do my thing, but I figured in the meantime we could film a video on talking about the S2000 because I do have a little bit of time to kill in between meeting up with him and stuff. So right off the bat, my music is loud. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoy the video. Hopefully you stick around for the whole video, and if you make it to the end, comment bananas at the end. How about we start this off with an introduction to the car. So this is my 2003 Honda S2000 AP1. Basically, pretty much all stock. A little bit of modifications, we'll go over those here in a moment, but this thing I picked up out of state. I'm in Arizona. I had to go all the way out to San Pablo, San Francisco area to pick this thing up. So I only paid $10,000 for it, but it did come with some issues. So main issue being it is a salvage title. There was a rear end collision like right here. So nothing super noticeable, just this, and then underneath the car you can see where the trunk belly was, the spot welds were removed and then re-welded, and there's new seam sealer and stuff. So overall, pretty good job. The car was resprayed because of that, so with that you can see heavy sand marks, like some along here, some by the rocker panels and stuff. Something you would expect from, like, say, an Apprentice. But overall, car's in fantastic condition. I mean, even the interior is super mint. The soft top is in great shape. I do have a professional detailer as a brother, so he helps me keep it maintained, nice and oiled and everything. And it is the late model, or the last year AP1, so it did come with the heated glass soft top, because normally they had the plastic windows that were awful from what I've heard. But yeah, let's look at the interior really quick. So I keep a microfiber on my floor just to, I don't know, preserve my floor mats, I guess, because I'm really kind of wanting to keep this car nice. This is the nicest car I've owned, sadly. But yeah, the door panels and everything are super mint. But overall, you can pretty much expect this out of most S2000s. It's really hard for them to actually end up having trashed interiors. Like, you really got to try to trash these interiors because they clean up so easy and so well. So you can see this thing's got pretty low miles for its age. This is a 03, so this thing's 18 years old already. And I did buy it just over 100,000. I've already put like 6,000 on it since I've owned it the past 2 months. But let's go over some of the things I've had to do to it really quick. So wheels and tires, I did buy those. So those weren't on the car already. But the car did come with white line upgraded sway bars. I don't know the actual dimensions of them. It came with braided steel brake lines all the way around. It came with a K&N cold air intake, which sounds really nice. It gives it a really good throaty induction noise whenever you get on it, really. And then it also had a few other miscellaneous goodies. It had a short shifter, which I just put in my shed. I was able to source an OEM Honda one because the one that it had was axial flow, and it just didn't do very well with the car. It rattled a lot. It was just not my thing. I also built a full 2.5-inch stainless steel exhaust on here, which sounds fantastic. I got a front lip on here that I paint matched myself. But overall, other than that, pretty darn stock. Fantastic, super fun car though. But I guess we can get in, go around, drive around a little bit, and talk about it. All Alright, so now that we're in the car, we can kind of talk about it a little bit. One of the big misconceptions with these cars is that they're fast. Now, don't get me wrong, they're definitely quick. Compared to today's cars, they're definitely not the fastest thing in the world, seeing as all the modern new cars and stuff today come with, like, I don't know, 6-cylinder, bi-turbo, blah, 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 just stuff like that. So everything today is like 300 horsepower plus with like 250 plus foot-pounds of torque. So comparing this car, especially the AP1, which is a 2-liter, with absolutely no torque, I think back in the day, these things made, or I think at the crank, these things make around 247 crank. I'm not sure what the torque is, I'd have to look it up. But I know that these things have really bad drivetrain loss, which means like by the time the power gets to the wheels, you've actually lost quite a bit. And everything I've seen and read on these cars says that they lose pretty much like 40 horsepower or so by the time the power gets to the wheels. So these things pretty regularly dyno between 190 and 200-ish at the wheel, which is still a good amount, especially for back in the day. The car doesn't weigh a whole lot. I think they weigh about 2650-ish. Don't quote me on that, but then they have the CR model, which is obviously the club racer, which is lighter, has a little bit more power, also being an AP2. But we'll talk about the AP1s and, I mean, I guess just S2000s in general, if it's worth it. So right off the bat, one of the things that you're going to notice is it's very driver-orientated. So I personally love that. A lot of people, I don't know, it's hard to not love it. You got all your audio controls here on the left, you have all your climate controls here on the right. So, I mean, what's not to love? You don't have to leave the steering wheel unless you want to go down here to your radio, which you don't really need to do hardly often. So it's really nice to deal with that. But on the topic of like audio and stuff, the one thing that this car does kind of disappoint with is mine. It depends on the model. I know the AP2s have different style tweeters and stuff, but the early model AP1s don't even have tweeters at all. So mine did. Mine's like I said, a last model year AP1, but they were kind of garbage. And then they only have the front door speakers. They don't have any tweeters or any speakers behind the seats or on the headrest, because the AP2s actually have speakers on tweeters on your roll bars, because these cars do have factory roll hoops. But yeah, so it kind of disappoints. So for me, I did add a set of component speakers in the back, so I got the 6.5s and the tweeters. So I love having the audio in this car because it's a huge difference, absolutely night and day. Because in a car like this, you want to drive with the top down all the time, and you can't really hear your music. And granted, a lot of people are like, oh, just enjoy the sound of the car. Yeah, that's fine and dandy until you're on like a 5-hour road trip, and you're like, dang, I'm really bored of sitting here listening to my intake at 4,000 RPM, 4,500 RPM, doing 70, 75. I kind of want to listen to some music, but you can't because you can't hear the music. And then even with the top up, it's also a convertible, obviously, so you get a little bit of wind noise. Just in general, I have a good condition top, it doesn't leak or anything, but mine does have a bit of wind noise. Plus my tires are a little noisy, so even with my audio all the way up, it just distorts it with the stock speakers and it just sounds bad. So I definitely suggest, if you ever get one, upgrade the speakers, put some speakers behind your seats. Game changer, surround sound type stuff. Absolutely love it. So the next thing I would like to talk is kind of on the driver feel. So my other car is a 92 Acura Integra right-hand drive with a K20 swap in it. And that's a fun car, let me tell you. It has no AC, no power steering, any of that, so it's a very driver-oriented car. And this car is very, I guess, driver-oriented as well. So obviously you've got electric power steering, which some people hate, some people like. I personally like it because in this car, it's very pleasant. You don't have to worry about like the old hydraulic setups in the older Hondas, where it's just, even at highway speeds, it feels very loose. Feels like you barely turn the wheel, you're gonna like flip over into the next lane or something. On this car, it feels as if the faster you go, the tighter the steering gets, which I'm sure that's probably how it works. But it's really nice because I can sit here, I'm doing 75 on the state route going up a mountain, and I barely have to give any steering feedback, and it feels very tight and very safe. I don't have to worry about like overcorrecting super hard or turning into too aggressively if I don't want to. You have to try, which is nice, but then at low speeds, obviously, it's very nice. And you still get lots of road feel. So I personally love it. Again, to each their own. Some people may or may not like it, but I think this car's electronic power steering feels way better than a new car's electric power steering, I guess, if that makes sense. It's got more driver feel, not as much as an old setup, not as bone boring or bone dry as a new setup, but you get the idea. So I guess the next thing would be, in terms of interior and drivability, is comfortability. So these things, I think they're pretty comfortable. I'm 5'9", 5'10", somewhere in there. So it's really not that bad. You got plenty of space on the driver's side for the most part. The one gripe that I do have about these things is the steering wheel is locked. Like, it does not move up and down, it's not adjustable. And then the door card here. So I personally, on long road trips, forgive me, I got my DSLR because I got the audio recording on that. So I have pretty skinny legs, I'm not buff or nothing, so I can kind of fit my leg in here just fine. But even then, it's a little cramped, and if you're any bigger than me, you're gonna have troubles getting your leg up if you want to just relax or whatever while you're cruising. So that's kind of a gripe. And then you kind of don't have a lot of width. Like, your legs have lots of room front and back for the most part, but you don't have any like side to side width if you have like big thighs, big hips, or something like that. And one thing about the passenger side is it's a little bit more cramped because the dash, and I don't know why. I mean, maybe it's just in my mind, but it feels like, especially when you're getting in the car, the dash kind of protrudes a little bit. So if you're a bigger guy, you may or may not be as comfortable, but I do have a buddy he's a bodybuilder type, like gym rat, and he's a pretty big dude, so he's a very snug fit in his S2000, but it's his daily, so maybe, I don't know, some people might like that. Some people might like just not moving and kind of just being planted where you are. But overall comfortability, like, the door card's a little high for where the wheel sits, but overall not too bad. It's pretty comfortable. As for down here, like, you can rest your hand down here, and it's not terrible by any means. You kind of rest on the door card a little bit, not bad. So overall comfortability, I give it like a 7 out of 10. I mean, it does have cruise control, which is very nice. So it's not like you're completely stuck in one position just like this the whole time, but it's not bad. The steering wheel feels great. I don't like mine personally because it's pretty worn down on top, so it's kind of like pokey. I don't know why. I don't know what the previous owners were manhandling the steering wheel for, but overall, pretty comfortable interior. As for long trips though, I've personally, when I bought this car, I had like a 12-hour drive home. I really didn't mind it. The seats are pretty comfortable. Some people say otherwise, but there's a reason a lot of Del Sol owners put these S2000 seats in the car, and they pay good money for them too. I personally love them. They're comfortable. I don't like that mine are black leather because obviously I live in Arizona. Black leather is kind of a problem, and they're not heated or cooled, so it does kind of so I do plan on upgrading to Suzuka Blue seats if I don't do bucket seats, because I'm trying to convert my interior to Suzuka Blue. I like it. Fight me. But yeah, overall comfortability for like long distance journeys really ain't bad. Like, you can kind of kick it. I have a little bit of room behind the seats. You have to scoot back. Passenger seats pretty much all the way back. They probably got like another inch. But you really can't complain for a roadster. You gotta also understand what you're buying yourself into. This is a roadster. This isn't a sedan, like a luxury sedan or something like that. Like, for what it is, I could definitely see me taking this thing across the country and back. It'd be a little cramped. I'd have to stop a little bit more frequently to stretch the legs, but in my 12-hour drive from San Francisco back to Arizona with this car, I really wasn't complaining. Like, especially cruise control, kick your legs up a little bit. You got room to roll your ankles around on the carpet a little bit if you get a little cramped up. So overall, it really ain't bad. I got no real complaints. But on the driving fun factor of this car, it is incredibly fun. Like I said, it is not very fast, but it is quick. And this one, being the AP1, has a little bit different gear ratio than the AP2. So it does kind of suck if you're trying to do like drag race stuff, because you fall out of your power band pretty quickly. You got to shift really fast. You got to rev it out all the way up to 9,000 to not fall out of VTEC in between gears. But where this thing I feel like it succeeds is the top gears, because I feel like first through third doesn't feel as fast as like the high end of third through like fifth. Like if you're doing freeway pulls or something like that. And this car does amazing out on like back roads and canyons and stuff, because you can keep it in like third, fourth gear in the power band, and you can just rip, and it handles so well. And a lot of people say snap oversteer type stuff because it's short in wheelbase. I've tried to get this car to snap out, and you have to try. You have to be very aggressive with your turn in, but if you're smooth with your driving, it's really not something you got to worry about. I haven't actually spun it, so thankfully, so I don't know how hard it is to correct or not, so I can't really be the judge of that in terms of the snap oversteer correction. But overall, like, it's a pretty darn well handling car. Like, there's a reason these things do so freaking well on track days, and they're so popular. I mean, it's basically just an upgraded, bigger Miata, and they're extremely reliable. I mean, this car has 108,000 miles, other than some basic maintenance when I got it, like a thermostat, rebuild a timing chain tensioner, because it's a very common flaw in these cars to fail. and then like some fluids and stuff. These things really, and valve lash, like these things last pretty much forever. My buddy that has one, the bigger guy, his has over 200,000 miles. He beats the snot out of it. It's his daily. He takes on road trips all the time, takes to the canyon, takes to the track, and his just takes it. These things are awesome freaking cars. So personally, for a daily, I don't have very many friends, let alone anybody that rides with me, because everybody has their own cars, so I don't really care so much about having back seats. It would be nice to have a little bit more storage room, seeing as you don't even have a glove box over here. You just have this little glove box behind you, and like what my buddies call the cocaine storage, above the glove box is like a little compartment that folds up. And the trunk is pretty small in these things. So daily driver material, really not bad. Grocery getter material, debatable. So I'll leave that one up in the air. I give daily driver ability like a solid 7.5 out of 10, because I'm a little biased because I really, really love the car and I like having a fun daily driver, but it could have a little bit more space and it could have a little bit more cargo. But again, you're buying a Roadster. These cars for a while held the highest horsepower output per liter, I believe. So I think it was about a decade until Ferrari beat it out. But these things, compared to modern cars, these aren't very fast. They do hold their own surprisingly well for how old they are and the amount of power and whatnot. The only thing is with the AP1s like mine, you gotta really, really rev it out. Like I said, you gotta get that thing all the way up to 9,000 RPMs. I mean, banging through the gears, because it's got a lightened flywheel. Whereas the AP2, you got a little bit more torque, you got a little bit more cushion to play with. But yeah, these things are absolutely fantastic. Again, they're not the fastest thing in the world, which is kind of funny, because like, especially being slightly modified, having the nice wheels and stuff like that, and an exhaust, a lot of younger kids, I mean, not that I'm old, but a lot of the younger enthusiasts always want to race the car anytime I'm driving down the street minding my own business, because they think it's a lot faster than it is. And I mean, it does all right, but you know, Turbo B or Turbo K or something like that. So I suppose the general consensus I would have to say is the S2000 actually worth getting? I would say 100% yeah. I mean, these things, not only from a investment standpoint, if you want to get one to invest in it, these things are only going to keep going up in value. But if you want to get it from a purist standpoint, like not an S2000 purist, but like a driving purist standpoint and an enthusiast standpoint, absolutely amazing, fun car. So I don't know. A lot of people you have to know what to expect when you're getting into it. If you're coming from a super high level car with lots of horsepower, lots of torque, something like, I don't know, say a Corvette or like a Ferrari or something like that, because I know Super Speeders Rob made a video on it recently on the S2000 if he'd own one, and he was just dogging it the whole time. He was like, cheap interior, slow, blah 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 blah. Also, you gotta remember, this is like a $30,000, $28,000 Honda back in the day. I mean, granted, there's still that much. But for what you're getting and for how much you're getting and the type of car that you're getting, I'd say completely go for it. Again, I got mine at a good deal, but I spent a long time, well, a short amount of whatever, felt like a long time. I spent like 2 years saving for it, kind of being patient on it, and then I spent like a week straight hunting, and then I found this one on Craigslist. So if you guys want to get one yourself, I would highly, highly recommend it. Again, like I said, if you're doing it for a daily purpose, I'd give it a solid 7.5 out of 10. It could be a little bit more practical, maybe a teensy more comfortable, but I really can't complain. I mean, to me, it's almost a perfect daily. So anyways, guys, hopefully you enjoyed this video. Hopefully you subscribe to the channel by now if you haven't already, or consider subscribing. If you want to help support the channel, I do have merch in the Big Cartel. Link is in the description. And also, if you guys are interested in any of the products I use, camera gear, power tools, welders and stuff, be sure to hit the affiliate links through Amazon and also in my description. Anyways, guys, do what you love, forget about the rest, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace out.